Hey guys, welcome back. It's Lazy, and as you can kind of see in the introductions, I had a rough fight against this, but you can kind of see that this build is very tanky, and I can dish out enough damage to do pinnacle bosses as long as you don't die and you can do the mechanics. The whole build is going to cost more than one divine, but it's going to cost you less than the chicken feet from Arbiter. So we can go for a really tanky versions, and you should never die in maps again. And you should also have enough damage to clear all kind of contents, even pinnacle bosses. There are a lot of room to upgrade the damage in this build, but for now it is going to be a decent mid-budget. And I'm not paying like 20 divine plus for the Sacred Flame, but the current build, if you can do the boss mechanics, you should have enough damage to clear the boss, at least in a 2 to 3 minute fight, which is aligned with GGG regions for you fighting the boss, so there's that. And in this build, I try to kind of ditch the Roa, but all the Roa companion nodes are just so darn efficient, so we'll talk about that later. There's another thing that if you're tanky, playing with the Roa doesn't feel as bad, because even if you fall down the Roa, you are not going to be dying instantly. So yeah, if you hate dying, you should probably switch to this versions where it's still going to be a blast when you're mapping. We have enough damage to pretty much kill any boss in under 20 seconds, and it's still really good, and you are not going to die at all. You should not die in map after you switch to this version of the build. It is extremely comfy. Mapping is very simple with this build, still one button playstyle, and there's not much to say really. Like, we are keeping all the quality of life, and we are adding much more with the tankiness. The way I build this character right now is extremely efficient because I scale damage just enough, and then I spend all the points in building defensive. So probably going to be my final version of the build. I'm not sure if I want to push for the Shrine Scepter, the Sacred Flame one. I think Sacred Flame is very good, but it's not justified like 25 to buy right now. So if the price come down, I will do another version featuring the Sacred Flame. But as you can see, we are very tanky. Like, even if you fall off your Roa, you would not die at all. We have a lot of damage as well. See that drop Exile just disappear. We are roughly 84% evasion in maps, and we have Ghost Dance, and we have 1800 ES, and we do a lot of damage. The main thing is you do a lot of damage, so I still think like offense is the best form of defense, but I understand that Glass Cannon's playstyle is not for everyone, so this version's extremely tanky. We still do a lot of damage. We pretty much one tap almost every pack with the full stack of Volt. And I like to emphasize that this is a pure mapping build. You have enough damage for pinnacle bossing. It's not going to one-shot the boss. It is tanky enough, so if we are going into a fight of attritions, you can do it. You can tank the boss, and you have enough damage to finish the boss. You can actually build this character to be a lot more tanky. You would have a higher ES base if you choose to go for the Sapphire Jewels, which you can have like 20% ES roll on there, but I chose to stop at 1800 because for the Ghost Dance I recover roughly 1k ES per hit, so I feel this number is appropriate because I haven't died once since I swapped to this build. I dropped Trinity in the build, if you have not realized. This is because of the new glove that I'm using, so we'll talk about all that, but Trinity is more for the budget versions, which I'll say it gave pretty good damage for what it does. But in terms of efficient, especially if we are going for a more tanky version of the build, I feel like it is lacking. So I dropped it for Ghost Dance. This boss is kind of weird. So the Stormlands has some sort of weird hitbox, so I don't do as much damage. But as you can see, like, if I hit the right Stormlands, we do a lot of damage. So yeah, that's the map. Overall, I'll say that this version is very comfy mapper, especially if you just want to map and chill and don't think about anything. It is tanky enough for that, especially now that I have dropped Trinity. The reason why is because I have swapped to a new glove, which is Maligaro. And this glove gives you critical damage bonus fixed at 300%, which means that with Tangle Tongue, all you need to do is cap your crit chance, and with 4 critical hits, you will always, as long as you cap your crit chance, you will always do 600% critical damage bonus. Essentially, these 2 items are very efficient because you don't have to scale critical damage at all, which going to leave us a lot of room to scale more defense. So let's talk about what has changed. I think overall the skill gems are still going to be the same. We have pretty much the same setup as before. The only thing that changed is Stormlands. I have pinpoint critical in here. This is because we have critical hit chance to be at 100%. I think I'm like way over cap at this point. So you can't even drop a lot more crit chance node on the trees. But I pretty much have removed all crit chance node on the tree. Pinpoint critical is very strong, and we remove the downside of dealing less critical damage bonus. This is because we fix our critical damage bonus as 200%. So the downside should be negated, if I understand correctly. And also the downside of this Careful Assassin, which reduce critical damage bonus, should also be negated, which is amazing. And I have put back Lightning Infusions because we don't use Trinity setup anymore. This is just going to be a straight up the 25% more damage. Scatter Shots, Primo Armaments, Heft. And Heft pair really nice with the Wildstorm, which increase even more maximum lightning damage, and we have more physical damage to convert to this, so roughly 20% more damage, if I have to say, if I have to guess. And yeah, so Barrage, on the Mobalytics, I did not have this inhibitor gems because the site is not updated yet. Even in the PoE, you would not be able to see this, but it's very important that you use this, at least in the setups, because otherwise Barrage gonna consume your frenzy charge, because it will consume your frenzy charge only used to add additional repeats, which you don't want. So you want to put inhibitor in here so that it doesn't interrupt your Stormlands consuming the frenzy charge. Herald Thunder, still same setups. I have not added all the 6 link, but to be honest, you don't need that. Cast on crits, you have Sniper Mark, Inspirations, Ingenuity, and Impetus. So you just gain more energies that way. I have dropped Trinity, so I have a lot more room to put in a lot of auras, which means that you don't really have to put in all these auras. So you can see here I have Precision in here, which is 10. I have Clarity, which is another 10. And I have Cannibalism, which is 15. You don't meet these. So it's going to make it a lot less stressful for you to gear. I guess you can get a much less Spirits, Open Scepter. We don't even use the Malice anymore, just because we scale a lot of crit chance. But yeah, anyway, so we add Ghost Dance into the build because we want to go tanky. That's why I drop Trinity, and that's why I go for the setups. But new tech to add for your Wind Dancer, we have Maim, we have Wing Wave, which knock back enemy, and we have Arm's Length, which add even more, 40% more knockback distance, which is good. For Ghost Dance, pretty much you just need to have Fast Forward and a few more gems if you have the extra spirits. And for Malice, you can put Persistent in here again, so we have to be in melee range, which we don't really need, but yeah. Don't worry about my spear throw gems, it's just random gems I put in here. We don't use the skill anyway. So that is pretty much it for the skill gems. And next we have the items. So I upgrade my Tangle Tongue The only upgrade you can pretty much do for this is to get one with higher base crits, which means as close to 20% as possible. And you can also try to get one corrupted with 2 socket, which means you can put in 2 accuracy rating, 2 visions, greater vision runes, and with the penetrates, that means you will get more physical damage on your spear. We don't scale critical damage bonus, so you don't need that gems in rune in here. So yeah. All my other gears are pretty much the upgrade versions, and these will the price will range depending on how good you are at shopping. But essentially, you want to look for high energy shield based on your helmets. Accuracy rating is nice. I prefer accuracy rating or even crit chance and some rarity. We have a lot of room to put rarity on the gears. I know it was nerfed, but if you can get it, you should get it, because this build will allow you to put rarity on gear because we are very strong by default. And if you are just mapping, there's no reason for you to not have rarity because we are not fighting pinnacle bosses. So just high ES base, accuracy, crits, some rarity, and I have cold resistance. I am using beacon up assist, so people ask me like, why didn't I using my last build? That was a budget build, but again, this is very good. The only change is I have allocated subterfuge. This was an expensive anointment, so if you can anoint subterfuge, it's expensive. You can change your whole tree to so you don't have to path over here, and you can path very efficient around all the way here, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We have the Falconer jackets, and I choose this base because we have movement speed, which is very strong. Especially if you are riding on the Roa, it's scale 1-to-1 with your movement speed. So on the Roa, I have 45% movement speed, which is really good. And for this base, you just look for high evasions and energy shields. It can go up really high. I kind of stop here because I found this one and it have really good maximum life roll. So I have 234 maximum life from this. Again, that is great. You can see how strong this is. It gave me roughly 200 maximum life and a bunch of energy shields and evasion as well. So our evasion's 84%, really good. With Wind Dancer ups, and without Wind Dancer is 80%, which is still really good. Especially if we are running really high on the energy shield as well. So try to cap your resistance, just get resistant everywhere and try to cap that so you can use greater iron rune in all your equipment for more energy shields and evasion. The 2 ring is going to have flat physical damage, which is really good, and resistance, attributes. Again, we are lacking a lot of attribute in the build because we are running cast on crits. We need a lot of int, so the int is just enough. And you get the attribute from the ring. This one have accuracy, flat physicals, some intelligence, maximum life, resistance. I bought this for, I think, 3 divine, so you can find a similar one, which is pretty good. The absolute best ring for this kind of build is going to have a lot of flat damage on this, not just physical, when you have flat lightning damage. And yeah, so if you can find one with flat lightning damage and lightning percent damage, I would definitely go for that, because it's a lot more damage that way. But it's going to be extremely expensive. Like, because this build is meta, so a lot of the items that is good for this build is going to cost you a lot of money. So I suggest you just shop for items that are similar to mine, which can range from 1 to 3 divine for those, and you can build it up later and you can upgrade to a lot higher flat damage later. And we have the boots, which have 30% increased movement speed, dexterity, resistance, and evasion and shield base. So pretty standard. If you don't have a lot of currencies, go for the 20% or even 25%. I suggest to get a 25% one. You get 5% from here and 25% from 30%, which is pretty good. Yeah, you don't want to be too slow, especially when you are riding the Roa. Scepter is the same, belt is the same. So yeah, that is the gear. I kind of swap around between the stun charm and frozen charm, but I think frozen charm is actually better because when you are riding the Roa, you don't get stun at all. You don't get the mini stuns. You get heavy stun if the spire field or you fall down. But again, you can quickly reset, get on. You kind of see in the maps, I fall down the Roa and I still don't die. So this build is very tanky. So yeah, the bowl and the quiver are for aesthetic only. I don't really use it. I'm waiting for GGG to fix the weapon swap thing, so where you can use the same weapon for swapping, which I can probably do some mark setups in weapon swap setups shenanigan. But right now, no, very straightforward passive skill trees, no weapon swap, no nothing, because yeah, it's we're just using Stormlands in a cast and quit setups. You just can't really do any weapons set to shenanigans and stuff like that. So for the passive skill trees, we are going for penetrate here. Again, we have accuracy rating rune on here. That's the only reason why I go for that. And we kind of dish the whole setup where you have to path over here because we unknown subterfuge. So you path down here, grab blur. I try to grab all the movement speed on the trees just to be fast. This build is a map blaster, so you want to be fast. Go down here, more movement speed, some damage here. But the main thing I want to talk about is, let's see here. I have from nothing. So this diamond is really strong. It should be cheap right now. Hopefully it's not too bad after I release this video, but from nothing allow you to... So last patch in 0.1, we didn't have Crimson Assault, which means you have to grab Oasis to get these 2 nodes, and Oasis is extremely expensive right now, but Crimson Assault, you get these 2 nodes for very cheap, 70% increase evasion rating. So pretty good for 2-pointer over here. And I path down here as well. You can see I path down here, grab a jewel slot. So yeah, so I try to grab a lot of jewel slots because the jewel slot was nerfed, but because of my pathing, I actually get a lot more jewels. So jewel is still very strong, and I'll explain it in a bit. But I go down here, grab lightning rod, which gave 30% chance for lightning damage with hits to be lucky. And lucky means that your damage roll twice and we do more damage. And especially for a build like lightning build, because the range is so high, the lucky hit is going to be very strong. Because you can see the range go from 1800 to like 3600, so the range is very high. Lucky is really good in a lightning build. We don't need any penetration node because we are running Beacon of Aziz. So we just go down here, grab that, grab the jewel slot, grab this companion node. So yeah, companions. This thing is very strong, inspiring alike if you increase and reduction to companion damage also apply to you, which means that we have all these little nodes here give you 20% increased damage. And I talked about this before, but I still don't see a lot of people use it, especially if you are using a Roa. 20% is insane because it's same as like this node, which gave 20% increase to elemental damage. And you can get it from like a small node as long as you have this companion node spec, which is actually crazy. One node here is 20% and one here is 20%. That is really efficient and really strong. So just imagine like you go down here, get this, it's 25% and you get just movement speed here and 18. So like you get roughly for 3 nodes, you get like these 2 small nodes equal to these 3 nodes minus the movement speed. But yeah, you get the point. And Hero node is very strong. It's 50%. So yeah, so it's like 70% increased damage here. Just try to grab some dexterity to fix the attribute problem. But with higher budget, you shouldn't have any problem with the attribute anymore. You can see I have a lot of dex here. If you're lacking dex, just lacking intelligence, just respec some of these dex node into int, and you should be good to go. And because we tag these companion nodes, the jewels, so the jewels that we want will always have companion deals increased damage. So generic nodes like this only give up to 12% increased damage, but we have Inspiring Ally also applied to the jewels. But the jewels can also go up to 20% companion deals 20% increased damage, which is really good. On the jewels, usually you get stuff like 15% to lightning damage or 15% to spear, but the companion go all the way up to 20%, which is extremely good. And this means in a min-max kind of settings, you get 5% more increased damage comparing to the other setups. And you can kind of see that if I refund the node here, you see the damage kind of go down. And if I put it back in, it's going up. So this node definitely work. And you can kind of test it out with the other 20% node on the tree as well. But yeah, I've tested out and it's definitely giving you 20% increased damage. Overall, this is extremely efficient, and that's how we scale our damage. So moving on, we have Spectral Ward over here. So this one gave a lot of added shields based on the equipped body armor. You can kind of see it before. But yeah, the monk area just give a lot of energy shields and evasion. These nodes are all extremely efficient. It gives 12% increased evasion, 12% increased maximum energy shields. And we also grab the step like miss, which give the movement speed. These nodes are good as well. And then we path up here to get Careful Assassins. Again, very efficient because we have Maligaro glove, so the crit damage is fixed. And another jewel slot here, which again, I'm taking companion damage. And so we have two prefix. One will be a companion deals increased damage, and the other one will be damage with spear, or like damage with elemental damage, or lightning damage, things like that. And we don't really care too much about the suffix. It doesn't really increase our damage. I mean, technically you have critical hit chance there, but yeah, all these jewels you can grab for pretty cheap right now because people don't really know the companion tech, but price might go up after I put up this video, but there's nothing I can do about that. All in all, I think this version is very well-rounded. It's really good for mapping in general. Again, I'll have all these updates, and I will actually have the PoE 2 Ninja link for you guys as well. The thing is, like, we can get much higher energy shields if instead of going for damage with the Emerald jewels, we can go for Sapphire jewels, where you can get the increase to maximum energy shields. But then again, I think evasion's at 84%, and with this kind of life and ES, it should be pretty good. I was considering to take acrobatic as well, and maybe dropping the scepter to go for like a shields. But anyway, it didn't really work out as well as I thought it would be. Anyway, this is going to be the final version of my build, and my gear is nowhere near perfect, and you can definitely get much better upgrades, much better gear than I am. This is a very tanky variant with very good damage for mapping in general, and can farm any map mechanics. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this version of the build. And if you guys want recommendations, this version is probably going to fit better for a lot of people because it is very tanky. Also, it is very budget in a sense that most of these items are very efficient thanks to Maligaro. We get to build a lot of defense while having a lot of damage, Tangle Tank and Maligaro and stuff like that. Final thing I want to clarify is that for the Amazon Ascendancies, you are going to get a lot of critical hit chance from the Ascendancy, which means that for the Tangle Tank, you actually don't need to have a high crit version like mine. You can probably go with the same skill trees and run a really cheap version of Tangle Tank, which have lower base crit chance, and it should be okay as well. But yeah, that's going to be it. And enjoy the rest of the bridge run if you guys want to stay and see that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.
I'll not make the journey home like that.